Hello. It's still the same evening. Sorry for the flashing lights. Um, Still have more. I don't know if anybody cares or not, but it makes me happy to show you my coffee dyed stuff. I don't think it hurts anything if I just post a video, even if nobody ever watches it. It makes me happy to talk about it because uh, nobody in my real life really cares about tea or coffee dyeing or how happy it makes me. My son will come in here and talk to me about gaming stuff that I do not understand, and I nod and I listen and I insert the appropriate happiness responses because I know it's something he cares about, but he's young and he doesn't care if he hurts my feelings by walking away in the middle of a conversation because what makes me happy doesn't interest him in any way. So, this is fresh out of the dye bath and ironed. Um, I thought about just leaving it because, they're a little wrinkly when they come out, and that's not a problem. But I just am such in the habit of ironing now. I was in the middle of ironing, and I was like, I don't know that I strictly needed to do that. Um, these are coffee dyed coffee filters. Hey, what a surprise! I coffee dyed the coffee filters. You can see here on the side the color variations. I split these up somewhere in the bottom, somewhere in the middle, somewhere towards the top, because I did want a good variation in these. And these are the industrial size. I do need to get my hands on some of the, and coffee filters aren't terribly expensive. I just am fairly broke at the moment that I don't want to spend the money on anything extra when we might need it for groceries or whatever. Uh, I've become very conservative with my money, and I just did spend a little bit at Natasha's auction, but I had specifically budgeted for that. So, and I did manage to pick up some things that I was really very interested in. So, and I don't think I spent a ton of money. I think I kept it well under actually what I budgeted. I just recognized that I needed to stop, and so I did. And then I fell asleep, and I felt bad about that. So let me flip through these real quick. You get these kind of remind me. I don't know if this will for anybody else. They look to me a little bit like if you just look up at the moon at night because they're splotchy and stuff like that. Not the polka dotty ones, obviously. I've never seen a polka dotted moon, except maybe in a storybook. But I felt like a little bit as I was ironing them. I was like, they started reminding me more and more of the full moon. So I think I might use some of these for my creepy spooky journals because they are kind of moon-like. I'll have to think about how I can enhance that a little bit. But like maybe this one here, look at that. I know I'm never going to find one that like, ooh, that's exactly like the moon. But they are kind of, they do, I don't know if they will for anybody else, but they are evocative of the moon to me. So I wanted to share that. So let's get the flip through. And I did do some polka dotty ones. I can only fit one of these. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeously grungy? And this came out of one of the cinnamon batches, so that accounts for some of the markings. And you do get such a variation of light to dark, even with the dip dye process. But these are a lot of fun. And these will go into, I'm building up a stash of stuff to do a big coffee dyed ephemera kit with a number of things, not just the coffee dye tea kit will have the greatest variation because like I can't dye pink guest checks black and I can't dye green guest checks blue. All I can really do with those is coffee dye them. So some of the ephemera elements only lend themselves to being coffee or tea dyed or used as is. They're not particularly groovy as, and I'll flip from this side too just so you can see the other side, as dip dyed elements. Not that there's not lots of stuff in the world that I can't dip dye, because there is, and I will eventually get my hands on as much of it as I can, because it's fun. So there's, I did a big batch. I think that's about 100 coffee filters. I did more of these than I did in any of the colors because I didn't know how many people would actually be interested in the colored ones. And again, ruffles, envelopes. These make a fun envelope that's partially see-through. You could put this over some music paper. This would work kind of like the sewing paper, the tissue sewing paper, because it's super durable, more durable than tissue paper. But you can still see through it. And some of the colors don't lend themselves to this, but the coffee dyed ones, particularly the medium to light toned ones, you can see through like that. So that's fun. Okay, so move those out of the way. And this is the pink lined paper. Let me find a sheet of the regular Oxford paper. Already stuck it all in various things. There's gotta be a couple of full-size oopsies. Isn't there? Doesn't there have to be some full-size oopsies? Oh, on the bottom, you dork. They're on the bottom of the pile. That's why you can't find them. Okay, so we'll just do these together. So this is the regular Oxford paper, the 8.5 by 11 full-sized notebook refill paper. There it is there. These are a little bit lighter than the last batch. A little bit less markings. But I like to get a good variation between light, dark, lightly marked, super grungy. I don't like to have only one kind because, you know, sometimes I whip out a project and I don't want super grungy or I don't want super light, so it's good to have a good variety in that. And these ones must have been towards the bottom, of course. So this is the full-size sheet, and this is the reclaimed spiral bound notebook paper. So you can see that's 8.5 by 11, and the pink sheets and any colors going forward for at least the next month will be on this size paper because that's all I have at the minute. I have coffee dyed the last of the Oxford. So this is just a smidge shy of 7.5 inches and just a smidge shy of 10.5 inches. Now I don't know why it's shorter than, you know, oh, this is actually only 11, 8.5 by 11. I don't know why I kept saying 11.5. So this is, I know why it's shorter, because you have the perforated part and the rest of it stays in the notebook. So that accounts for the missing inch, and then the part where the ring binding runs through that. So I know why it's narrower. I don't actually know why a spiral bound notebook would be shorter than the full 11 inches, but it is by about 1/2 inch. So, and it's still a fun size. It's perfectly suitable to a journal. This is a little bit cheaper. You can see when I flip through, you know, you can see, except for on the very grungiest papers, the lines for the Oxford paper really do not fade at all. They don't fade or bleed. And these did not bleed, but they did kind of fade, and the pink isn't even a dark color, and even on the lightest sheets the lines barely register. So there was some fading of the lines there, and it got about the same color variation. These are a little bit pinker than the plain paper ones in terms of vibrancy, but about the same color variation, almost no markings. The notebook paper doesn't lend itself very well to markings, and I don't dry the notebook paper on my racks because I don't clean them every time. I need a separate set for dip dyed paper, so these really only get dried on 2 different surfaces, and they don't leave much in the way of marks for the dip dyed paper. But I do still like the mottled effects I get from how they're dried and how they're dyed. But eventually I would like to have a more patterned, and the polka dotting does show up some, but not a whole lot. It's just the way the RIT die works with it, so I just don't get the same markings. So that's what I've got for line paper. These will be up tomorrow or Monday at the latest. I have just a huge pile of things I need to photograph. These are backups for later on, and I was super disappointed. I thought I had a lot more steno paper. I have enough for one more of the 75 kits here. This is slightly more than 25 sheets, but I thought I had about 500 sheets, and I had only about 80 sheets, maybe 90 at the most. So, but I have been giving these away as goodies, so that probably accounts for why I thought I had so many, because I would just grab a couple sheets of these every time. They're a convenient size for no matter what size package I send out. But I don't currently have the money to buy more steno, so I'm going to have to, maybe I could do, I don't know how long my small grid paper that I used in the orange kit will hold out. I have a second journal with it in there, but it's not a ton, so I'm going to have to look around at what my options are for a smaller size sheet that I could use temporarily for the 75 kits. I don't want to use like book paper or anything like that. I want it to be something that can be written on, because that's the kind of kit that is. The 75 lot is meant to be like journaling space or for backing things. I use the steno size actually a lot for backing journaling cards and stuff, because I like to have the red line down the middle or towards the edge, depending. Or sometimes if the tags are skinny enough, I can get two on here and then one across the top where I have the red line. So I like the steno paper for that a lot. Okay, so that's the, yes, ooh, and that's how we get some of our oopsies and uh-ohs. So this will be just extra for down the line. That way I have a little bit of back stock. I don't sell what I'm gonna list, and then I'm like, oh, I need more line paper right now. I have a little bit of backup, and I'm doing one final lot of pink. I have the dye in the kitchen right now. I'm waiting for it to cool enough. By the time this video is done, it should be cool enough. I'm going to do a little bit more of this notebook paper, a little bit more plain paper, and then I'm going to do some coffee filters in the pink. And then I have to decide what else I want to dye pink, but I will be out of pink dye. I don't have enough to do another batch, except maybe a very small, if I wanted to do like some dip dyed book pages in the style of, I've sent these out a few times as freebies, and they are listed in my store. I don't know how well the pink would wick up the pages though. I've done them in mass market, and I've done them with the Harry Potter book pages. So here you can see, this is what I was talking about, the purple which wicked up onto the page. I love the purple comes out with these great effects. I didn't lay this paper into the dye bath flat. I got about a 1 to 1 1/4 inch block of pages from various books in the Harry Potter series, and I put them like this. I bound this side with a couple of binder clips, this size right here, and then I put them in a smaller container and I set them upright like this and let the paper wick up. You do have to take the paper out and squeeze it, and then you have to fan it out to get it to wick up. The tendency is for it to only take the color here when it's bound that way, but I don't have anything that's the right length, and maybe I need like a loaf pan. I should probably take some book pages to like the thrift store, or to I shudder to go to Walmart. I don't like shopping there, but maybe, you know, it's a cheap option, and I think I can take the free trolley there. I cannot afford anything right now, but maybe like a loaf pan or something similar. I could put the pages in without having to put the binder clip on, because that's what causes the bottom to, you know, you want it to be loose enough that it wicks up the page. But you get the purple, and then you can see here there's some blue that came out on that, and I really like that. I have a few lots of these in my Etsy, and maybe one on eBay. But I need to dye more papers because I only have I have like quite a bit of the purple, so I've been sending these out as freebies too. I don't know if anybody actually likes these, but I really dig the way this comes out. And I'd be interested if anybody has feedback. I like the way this turns out. If I laid them flat in the water, and they would come out more like, you know, like this. You would still get some effects, but you wouldn't get any wicking like this. Would it, just as a matter of opinion, not do you want to buy any, but do you think there's an interest if I just dip dyed like lavender and lighter colors where you would still be able to see the writing, but it would be a colored paper? Say like in the, like red for the Gryffindor, green for Slytherin, blue for Ravenclaw, and yellow for Hufflepuff. Like maybe I would do something like that. Do you think junk journalers or crafters in general would be interested in that sort of thing? I'd love to hear your opinion if you have one. If you don't, then you don't. But that's one thing I did do with dip dyeing, and that's a different way to do it. So if anybody wants to try that, I did it with these Harry Potter book pages. I did it with mass market, various books. Different paper take the wicking. Some papers don't take the wicking, don't take up the color. It doesn't wick up the paper hardly at all. And others, I had some really, with some of the older, more pulpy, thicker pages that weren't brittle, I got some really amazing effects. And those pages are all gone. Somebody bought all of them. So experiment. If you like that effect, I encourage you. I did purple, red, navy blue originally. Talking about. I did aquamarine, teal. I did 7 colors. I did not have yellow at the time, so I don't know how yellow would do. And I don't know how well pink would wick up. I think it might be too light. And if I put in a lot of dye to help it show up more, then I'll get a color that's closer to red, I think. And I don't necessarily want to have where you can't really tell the pink from the red when you lay them side by side. So, but I do need to make more papers if I want to continue selling this particular lot. And I don't sell a ton of them, but I sell a reasonable amount of them, and they're just fun. So that's that. I just have this big giant pile of stuff going over here. This is the most recent pink batch, and I'll just do that real quick because you've already seen quite a lot of the blush pink papers. Again, not a lot on the effects, but you do get a fairly interesting range of color variations. And there it is. Okay, so out of the way. And then I did about 60 or so doilies. I never do exactly the amount I want because there's always some waste because the doilies are, you know, delicate, obviously. A few just fall apart, or I poke my finger through it, or I grab it in the wrong spot and it rips. But I'll just lay some out here and we can Google them a little bit. They're fun, so you can see here, like this is where a doily laid on another doily. These do not have to be in the dye very long at all. It's almost a dip and slip. You can dip it in and slip it out. It can go in for a few minutes, but these shouldn't soak for a long time just because the paper's delicate. And you don't want to lay them one right on top of. You want to kind of do this where you can, what I do is in the water, I kind of go like this and I rub my hand gently over this and I try and loosen them from each other, and then I'll snatch up one and pull it out like that and lay it down. So just to be delicate with them, because a couple of people have said that they don't have any luck with doilies at all, and it's really, you have to have the water to cover it. You can't you can't jam pack them in there and not have enough water. That if you kind of wiggle your hand in the water above just slightly above, not way above, and you don't want water sloshing everywhere. That they should start to, the top one should start to kind of float free, and then you can kind of grab that up and pull it out. So I think that's probably gives you an idea of the effects I got. Most of the variations are just in saturation or where doilies laid on top of other doilies. I dry them in a single layer. I never put them on top of each other because if they stick, they rip. And the lacy part of the pattern does have a tendency when it's wet to stick to the other lacy parts. So when you try and separate them, most of the time you can, on a plain paper, you can kind of wiggle your finger under there and it'll separate without any of the paper coming away from either side, but that is not the case with doilies. So right now in doilies I have purple, teal, orange, and pink. I think that's all I have. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all I've got. And I am working up to a pink set of things where I have 50 papers. But I like to have between 5 and 7 different things. And I think I'm out of music papers that will take the dye easily. I have one more spot I can look through for music papers, and those are hymnal pages. And I'm not sure how fragile they are, so I'll have to experiment with that a little bit. But with the pink, I need to get more dye before I can, like, I could maybe dye more doilies or some music pages. I couldn't do a whole big batch of up to 200 pages because there's not enough dye going to be left in the one bottle I have to do like, let's say the orange I just finished, and I think I'm done dyeing orange for now, although I think I have a little bit of orange left, and I would like to get some more dye because I think I'm going to sell a lot of orange going towards Halloween and in the fall. I hope, fingers crossed. And I have what I have, but I don't have hardly any extra. So there is that. Let me see how long this video is, because clearly I could be telling you about my... This is 22 minutes, so I'm going to cut it short again. I still have more stuff I can show you, things that I have dyed in the last 10 days or so. I did a separate small batch with some tea for some smaller papers. And I have just maybe 5 or 6 more things that I haven't shown before. So I'm going to call it for the video today. I still have the tester sheets to show you for the music and the one other page that I tested to see if I could tea dye a bunch of them or coffee dye a bunch of them. So hopefully in the next batch, I think I only have 3 other things to show you, so I should be able to get to it in the next video. And I'm only going to try and post 1 video a day, even though I might make multiples in the middle of the night. So thank you if you have watched all the way through and listened to me babble about pink papers and doilies and lined paper and steno paper and stuff like that. I hope that you are having a fantastic summer. I hope that you are crafting up some lovely goodies. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye!